Welcome to Trucking with Jason. I've got a good friend of mine, Ernie Chappell from EFC Systems, in the truck today. We're central Iowa. We're chasing customers. We're doing the things that get us really excited again in this post-COVID. And I don't know if it's post.
Yeah,
I don't think it's over.
Post, but it is over. Nice. We're breaking out of the office.
Ernie, thank you for doing this with me, agreeing to do this with me. Yep. You have no idea what's in store for you in the next few minutes, but
right.
It'll be great.
Thank you.
Let's start by just describing a little bit about your organization, your company, what you guys do. What is EFC Systems?
Yeah, we're a technology provider for agribusiness. Two major divisions. One is the ERP side of the house, and one is the field data solution side. So we're in ERP and precision software, farm planning, all delivered by way of the retail service provider. So our focus is help a service provider help a grower. So farm profitability delivered by the service provider.
And how long have you been around?
So we've been around 32 years.
So you're a startup?
We make it. We're a nice 30-year startup.
Yeah. No,
don't hold that against me. We run like a 5-year-old startup. We're nimble and growing and have evolved and changed a lot. Been doing ag 29 of those years, so very all in on ag at the wholesale level, the retail level, the farmer level. So glad to be in the agribusiness sector.
You talked about the ERP system and the field system. Explain the software. Let's hear the differences in the product.
Yeah, so ERP, nobody knows what that is. That's our merchant ag product. It's a big accounting system, right? Well, it's about serving the needs of a grower, selling them products. It's a big financial system, but it's really risk management, right? You're controlling purchasing and all the financial aspects. It's a comprehensive platform. Financials, agronomy, grain, energy, feed manufacturing, etc. All the things you need, mobility, customer portal, all the tools you need to sell to a grower. The spatial side, precision, is field analytics, or with Ag Solver if you're into farm planning. And that's a comprehensive platform for scouting, sampling, planning for the farm, record keeping, logistics, fertility, full ecosystem. And that's the trend we've seen, is organizations want to have a platform that handles their organizational needs, reduce the number of pieces of software that they're needing to use to serve their growers.
So that's a tool that's delivered through the agronomy department or the precision ag department.
Yep.
So that when they show up on the field, they know what they're talking about.
Yep, that's right.
They make intelligent.
Yeah, very extensive number of connections to labs and equipment. We're the largest consumer of data from deer. Highly connected. I know, of course, we're highly connected to farm. We'll get a lot of data from your pucks, labs, imagery. It's a very connected system.
All right, Ernie. So you work with a lot of these ag retailers. You provide a lot of services to them. How is their world changing recently? What are their needs? What do you see as the emerging places where you're building solutions to help them get ahead?
Well, the growers they're serving have a desire for immediacy of information, but one of the big constraints we've spotted is labor. There's not more time, and there's a shortage of people, and so we're trying to take care of more activities, more growers with less people, limited resources. And so the tools we're delivering certainly have a component of driving efficiency for how they're executing on all the services they're trying to provide to a grower.
And many of the retailers we work with say about 10% of their acres they serve are actually what we categorize as a digitally engaged grower, meaning that they're sharing data with their service provider, trusted partner. Yeah. They're actually doing something with the data, right? Whether it's figuring out where to scout, whether it's figuring out when to take the soil samples,
Yep.
whether it's figuring out, what applications, what disease you should be looking for, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
About 10% of the acres covered. And do you find that to be true with a lot of your customers as well?
Well, we're seeing the acreage increase, and so they're not evaluating it as much, and they're actually relying on it more and more now.
It's becoming part of the normal process.
It's becoming norm.
Yep.
Now, and there's a drive for more record keeping and reliance on these data insights, and so we see the adoption going up, significant increases in farm planning. We have an exciting retailer that just came onto our platform that is planning to do 100% of their fields that they service will be having a farm plan this year, and that's a marker for what's coming in the future.
And so how do you get to those farm plans? Are you what's the driving force behind that? Are you looking at what was planted there last year? Are you looking at
Yeah, we're using a collection of what information do we have. We're using imagery, so we don't need to rely on all of their historical. We use whatever we have, and can make use of that with a combination of templates and the state budgets. We're able to get a pretty good farm plan and do yield prediction that is then modified and tweaked. So it's not a massive data entry. We do a lot of automation of our planning now, so that you give me a boundary and I can pretty much have a pretty accurate plan for this year. Now we start tweaking it. What are you willing to spend? What are you wanting to do to modify that and improve, or no, it won't make an impact, save the money.
So a tweak could be like soil sampling.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. A tweak could be, what are some of the other tweaks?
Well, what hybrids are you going to put on? What is the the yield potential for different amounts of nitrogen?
Tissue samples?
Tissue sampling. So that's part of it. And that's why the farm planning, our approach to farm planning is that it's part of the precision ecosystem. It's, we're living in one environment. It's part and parcel. It's not a separate add-on for farm planning. And it is spatial. We don't think that farm planning at the transactional or tabular nature across the whole field is meaningful at all. You need to get sub-acre and do it spatially. Yep. Because that's where people are maybe wasting money or under-capitalizing on yield potential when they treat a field as a field.
Sure.
It's variable, so you got to farm it in a variable fashion.
We have this concept at Farm Mobile of what we call digital harmony. And what we mean by digital harmony, it's when you've got a grower collecting data and they're able to share that data with the retailer, and the retailer's able to send people out to the right fields at the right time, and they're able to take the tissue samples and validate what the satellites are telling them, and it's all run because they had a planting data variety and they kind of know what the range is and what to look for, and how much more productive the retailer can be at assisting those growers when they have that information. And then when it gets really cool is at harvest time, when you're a retailer and you've got a farmer running a puck in their combine, and they get that data the next day when that field is done, and they can start writing that rec right away, and they can get their fertilizer rigs out there right away, so they can actually lengthen the application season. Right. And so we're not stressed at the last minute when the farmer gets done with all 30 fields and we bring all the data in and everyone's trying to bring the data in at the same time. This ability to extend that window of application is one that we've seen be a really exciting piece that I call this digital harmony, where you can where all this data just starts to work together.
Well, we were talking earlier about the effect of COVID, and it's been a bit of an accelerant. It's demonstrated that there are other ways to service growers and to get the job done. This is an opportunity. This isn't doom and gloom. This COVID, and we're not spending as much time physically, but we still can interact with our customers. And so I think big events like this give an opportunity for people to look for alternate ways. There's a number of creative ways I'm seeing service providers take care of their growers, and as you were saying, the crop's growing and it has needs at certain days and time.
It doesn't matter.
Yep. And so there's been a lot of continued service activity. Yeah, maybe you're not getting them to sign a piece of paper, you're not shaking hands, and you can actually meet their needs without as much in-person time. So this will be a catalyst for change, maybe.
I think you make a really good point about, we need more education. We need more people to understand the tools that are available. Collecting data and putting it into a system has been, I say in agriculture we have the first mile problem. In telecommunications we've got the last mile problem, right? We can get the fiber all everywhere, but then running it in the house is that last kind of problem. I think we've got the exact opposite problem in agriculture from a data collection standpoint. We've got this first mile problem. We've got all these machines that can collect all of this data, but it's really difficult for us to get that data into a database where tools like yours can be able to add further value to the data. And so I think that's one of the things that the more we can help reduce the amount of friction to get that data into the database, the more opportunity we have to add value to that data, and that's what I think will drive adoption.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd say we're turning the corner to a focus of a little better quality data as well, so it's not just about the quantity. And I'm
Forget the quantity.
I'm pretty hesitant on going for any kind of amalgamated results off data. I don't think, unless you know a lot about how it was collected, that it's going to be that useful. So we got to be careful of, you can't farm on the basis of the average. It is a pretty specific science, and so we got to look at and keep in mind the importance of quality.
Yeah, I mean, you think about a lot of farmers still take their total number of bushels divided by their total number of corn acres to get, what their performance was.
Right.
And they sometimes, again, not getting that data in makes that an easy way to do it, right? I'm just going to add up all my scale tickets and I know how many acres I planted and boom, there it is. But when you really get to the field level and you're able to break down that data by the field level, there are some fields that don't need to be grown for max production.
Right. Yeah, and that's where I think farm planning done correctly is spatial, it's sub-acre, and we can give them the information so they can make some good choices to not overspend on an area and don't underspend on another part of the field. So
what's EFC's position on data, and how do you guys view it?
Well, we certainly handle and hold a lot of data. We feel the data is owned by the growers, and there's some IP layer of data is the expertise added by a service provider, but we're not in the data business actually. We're neutral. We're not trying to build products or profit off that data for any other purposes than empowering a service provider to help a farmer and help the farmer, because remember the farmers are logging into our platforms as well with their service provider. So we're providing a service to the farmers. But there's been some additional press on this topic that maybe everyone's getting a little more savvy of, like, maybe you should look at where is my data and am I getting an adequate benefit for the data I'm sharing. Of course, if you have an iPhone, you're willfully sharing some data about yourself in return for the benefit you're getting for that technology. So I'm not saying it's bad. We do need data interoperability, but there's a little more awareness to that nowadays. So
the independent thing is something that we hear a lot, right? People don't want to be beholden to one manufacturer of seed or one manufacturer of equipment. Being able to maybe use a piece of equipment and then change to another piece of equipment and not lose all of that previous data. The neutrality thing,
I think that's a plus. You're in a neutral position. I am as well. I think that's valuable. We work with all types of equipment, and I add value hopefully to our service providers, and we have to charge for our software, but it's not free because you buy some product, seed, chemical from me. So it's in a way, I'm glad we're neutral, but we're not in a level playing field when there's a software provider that's maybe making their technology look free because of rebates on other things. But we're purely in the enabling service providers with technology to serve a grower, and you have to pay for it because that's our only business we're in. I'm not in the data business, and I'm not in the
but you bring up a really interesting point, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, is that just because you're not paying for it doesn't mean the other side isn't extracting value from it.
True.
Right? And
Yeah.
so I really think, truthfully, like, we charge for ours too, right? And that's
Yeah.
always a friction point, because
Yeah.
everyone's like, climate's free. Like
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. And okay, maybe you're not paying for it there, but trust me, someone's making some money somewhere off of either the seed or the chemical or the other things that you're doing there, and it's just a different way that they're marketing to you. And I think that's something that is oftentimes overlooked. And I think when you're choosing a system, you got to figure out how easy it is to move your data out of it, just so you don't get locked
Sure.
into something where you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's true.
All right, let's talk about just the documentation of all these activities in all these fields as we get further and further down the road here. And what do you see that
I think
future looking like?
Yeah, I think that's it's going to drive some adoption.
I know Tritera is one of these platforms,
that's
right?
a great score, insight score that I think is going to get a lot of traction and grow. For a variety of reasons, there's going to be a need, whether it's outcome-based pricing, warranties, there's a lot of things, landlord-tenant relationships, credit. There's going to be a lot of interest by these other parties in the financial planning of the farm, and also the record keeping of what did you do to produce that crop. And maybe will they get more money for their crop? I don't know if they will. It might be an access to market. Like, if you can't document your crop, it could be an impediment. So I think there's going to be a big increase in the amount of record keeping done, because it's beneficial to have those records.
You talk about outcome-based pricing, and we've had discussions with reinsurers who are actually looking at writing policies for the product performance if there's a shortfall, okay, to the retailers. And so this reinsurance company that I'm thinking of came to us, and they were saying, are you guys able to collect planting data? Yep. Are you guys able to collect the harvest data? Yep. How are you able to collect the applicating data? Yep. We would rather get data from an independent party to figure out if there is a shortfall and we have to pay out a claim.
Yeah.
We'd rather get that data if there's an alternative from an independent party than the person supplying us the data who's getting the coverage.
Right.
And so I really think there's a pretty big opportunity. I think this is going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
I think as outcome-based pricing, it doesn't feel like it's going to go away.
Right.
I think there's a lot of questions about it, and I think it's like anything else. We're going to try this, we're going to try this, we're going to try this. But at the end of the day, that is a risk share, and there's a certain part of the farmers who would prefer to share that risk, and there's a certain part of the farmers who would share to take that risk on themselves.
Right.
But I think it doesn't matter which camp you're in. The need for companies to be able to validate the practices that happened are going to be a requirement for you to take advantage of those systems.
Yeah.
Just because you can write on a piece of paper that you put a crop protection product on at this day, you don't know the application went on. Right? And so your visibility into seeing how the application went on, if you're the person who invested in that in that application, is important. But it's also important for this greater scoreboard, I call it, of really understanding what products are working.
Yeah, I think that verification of the data is going to be a requirement, and it's going to be on the upswing. The other thing that we touched on earlier is this idea of value. And I don't know that I do a great job of showing the value that we bring. We're learning how to. But the retailers are going to be better off if they can articulate the value they bring to a grower. So it's this partnership and how to tell the story of value. And that moves the conversation away from the price. And if you think of it as a partnering relationship that's in it for the long haul, now you're not talking about buying this pallet of chemical. It's helping him succeed as what are his needs, and these tools that help drive profitability at the farm level will ultimately benefit the service provider as well. So that's our approach to it.
We share that exact same philosophy. We've got to build tools that help the grower. The grower is where the data starts.
Mm-hmm.
And with the grower's data combined with the retailer's data, you can unlock a whole bunch of potential that wasn't there before. So you got to have tools that add value to the grower. You got to have that tool that adds value to the retailer. And if we can do that, then you're going to be better and I'm going to be better, because everybody's going to be participating in the value creation.
Right.
And that's really what it's all about. As long as we can make farmers more successful, the retailer's going to be more successful, and you and I are each going to be more successful.
Yeah, correct. I agree.
Okay, Ernie, so what's something that nobody knows about you, or very few people know about you?
Well, this goes back to before the kids were born. You know, I have young kids still, 16, 14, and 12. But in my prior life, I was big into sailing. So I moved from landlocked Alberta to Houston, and I take up a hobby of sailing. So I spent many years sailing very large boats, first in the Gulf and then in the Caribbean on charter basis. Didn't own a boat, thankfully, but yeah, I was passionate about sailing.
So how do you get into sailing when you moved to Houston? Do you know anything about sailing, or
no,
what do you do?
You take lessons, and then you start renting boats, and so yeah, and then I literally did it every weekend, and then bigger and bigger boats, and so it's fun. It's a math problem, and this isn't recreational buzz around in a powerboat. These are sailing boats of size that it takes a crew of at least 3 to do it, but it was great fun, and so nobody in my current circle of friends realized that I'm actually an ex-sailor. I haven't attempted it in the last 15 years.
I can't believe I didn't know that about you.
Yep, there's your new tidbit.
So you said earlier that you're in the change business, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like you're really in the technology therapy business.
Maybe so. Like you want to be a facilitator of change, right?
It's gonna be okay. You guys can offer these products. You can make the change, right? It's gonna be all right. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, that's really.
So that's the barrier sometimes.
I know.
The fear of the change. So a precision implementation is straightforward, fairly simple beginning to end. An ERP change is like, do you want to build a house? How about renovate a house? Buy and build a house? Easy. How about renovate? Move out or move to 1 bedroom while they renovate your kitchen?
Yeah.
That's what an ERP change is, right? It's complex. There's a lot of moving parts. You're way better off when you get it done. There's a lot of people have a fear and never take it on because of the amount of work it could be.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest barrier to ERP change.
And you're changing the way people have done things in the past, right?
Yeah.
So that's
hard
another
to
piece,
deal with.
right? That is.